Hey everyone, welcome back to Trade Talk. This is episode 3. Thanks to everyone who has checked out my other episodes so far, and if you haven't yet, and this is your first time, Trade Talk is basically where I talked about collected edition comics that come out. So any of the paperbacks or hardcovers, any of the actual books that come out of single issue comics when they are collected. As they are collected editions, or as some people call trade paperbacks, hence the name Trade Talk. So every episode I try to talk about a couple of trades I recently read in the past week, and I kind of give you a little bit of a review of that book. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it here. I got 3 books that I wanted to talk about today. And all of them I actually quite enjoyed to varying degrees, so that's always good. So first up, we got Lodger. Lodger is a book that's from the Black Crown imprint. I believe that's through IDW, and that is the imprint that Shelley Bond, editor, one of the famous editors from Vertigo Comics, actually went over and started up herself. I guess about a year or two ago, I believe it started. This is actually the first book I've read by her label, and the reason I picked this up is it's because it's by David Lapham and Maria Lapham of Stray Bullets fame. I'm a big fan of Stray Bullets, so that's why I ended up picking this up, because I would really check out any work that David Lapham kind of did, especially in this same vein of like a crime comic, filled with horrible people, as he likes to do normally. So yeah, this trade paperback collects all 5 issues of this little story they did, Lodger. And I quite enjoyed it, and I think it's best read in one big chunk, because I think from what I had heard from reviewers when the first issue had hit the stands, makes a lot of sense, is that when you read the first issue, it kind of is like you're being brought into the middle of a story, which you very much are. The first issue kind of disorients you in a way, because when you read it, you're kind of coming up in the middle of a bunch of occurrences that are happening in the story with this character without actually given the time to be properly introduced to them, which is not a bad storytelling technique. It's definitely has been done in movies and other things, where they kind of, even, at times when they show you something that happened at the end of the movie, at the start of the movie, and then you have to kind of see the whole thing to appreciate that moment that occurred. So this first issue is a little bit like that, in the sense that you're kind of already seeing this girl on the run and trying to track somebody down, and a bunch of fucked up shit happening, and really that's just because that is this girl's life, but you don't get to really understand that till usually you get to the second issue in the trade, as the story develops. And once you actually get to the end, I think it wrapped up in a very satisfying way. So for anybody that maybe had read the first issue of this and kind of fell off of it, and figured it may not be for them, or they didn't enjoy it, definitely pick up the trade if you are a fan of David Lapham's, because it's definitely worth reading as one big whole chunk to kind of really appreciate and get a full scope of everything that really was occurring in this. So, and basically Lodger is about, just a revenge story. It's like a bloody revenge story about a girl who is trying to track down this guy, who basically, Lodger is like a like one of these sites where a guy documents his travels, it's like a blog essentially. And it's called Lodger, and the guy, goes to different small towns in America and discusses his experiences while visiting these small towns, and he tells stories about him on the road, and gives reviews of the places he stayed and this kind of thing, right? It's it's a travel blog, and the guy's just known as Lodger on it. And then you find out that the main character, Nails, as she likes to be called, I guess that's her, her name's Ricky Toledo, her actual name, but then she kind of starts going by this nickname Nails, you find out while you're reading the story. And yeah, it's basically just a bloody revenge story of her basically trying to track down this Lodger guy. And I don't really want to get too much into kind of how fucked up the Lodger guy is. So you really got to read it, like I said, for yourself to experience it. But he is a bad dude, this guy, and he's not what he seems. And you learn more and more about why she wants revenge on him and why she's trying to track him down as you get through the storyline. So, like I said, if you are a fan of Stray Bullets, definitely check this out. If you've never read Stray Bullets, but, you're into crime stories or stories of revenge, just kind of, bloody, tragic storylines with interesting characters and fantastic cartooning, because David Lapham is a great cartoonist, and just a well told, really weird, out there, fucked up story, then definitely check out Lodger. I really enjoyed it, and Maria Lapham, who's helps David Lapham with a lot of different behind the scenes work on Stray Bullets as well. Co-wrote this with them, so good for her as well. I think this was well done. I don't know where she started and he ended in terms of like their collaboration on this. But it still feels like a Lapham kind of book. I mean, he is the artist on this, and he obviously was still involved with the writing. So it just was a hell of a lot of fun for me. But yeah, I can't stress enough, you need to kind of just experience this whole story and read it. So if you're going to commit to it, you can't just read one or two issues. You need to kind of read the whole thing to kind of get a full appreciation of it. Next up, we got Mars Attacks, the newest incarnation of this comic book. There's been other Mars Attacks series in the past. It has a long history, between trading cards back in the day, and of course, the popularity of the movie, though, was already based off of that, like it being a property that existed, and many comics that have come out, and Dynamite has the rights to publish any comic series that come out from this. And I don't read many books from Dynamite. Actually, over this past year, there's a few titles now I've been meaning to check out from them, because it seems that they're just they're bringing some interesting creators over to their side and actually hooking them up with properties that they currently own that they are interested in, and the artists and writers are given a lot of artistic license to kind of do with the properties what they want. So I've heard there's a few different titles which I may end up talking about once they're collected on this show, coming out from Dynamite this past year, that have been quite good, because otherwise the quality of books that have come out of that publisher I haven't really enjoyed that much. It's kind of few and far between. Obviously right now they're getting a lot of popularity because of the Boys TV show that just came out. And, Garth Ennis famously had brought that book over Dynamite after it didn't work out as a Wildstorm book at DC Comics, and nor should it have, because of the content of it. So I don't really know what they were thinking there. But after a few issues, Dynamite was able to pick it up, and he basically just ran the whole series through Dynamite at that time. But anyways, this is Mars Attacks. It's written by Kyle Starks and art by Chris Schweitzer. Kyle Starks has been kind of making a name for himself, I think, the last year or two. I haven't read too much by him, but this definitely was the first book that I really connected with of his. I tried out a couple other things. Actually, no, that's not true. I also liked Rock Candy Mountain that came out through Image Comics. So yeah, I guess that was the first thing I read by him that I really enjoyed. He's known for bringing a lot of humor to his comics, doing a lot of humorous comics. I wouldn't say that they're straight humor comics, because as even evidenced in this story, like a lot of them actually have a lot of heart to them as well, and actually nice moments when you get to know the characters. So yeah, so this trade paperback collects, I think, the first 5 issues of this series. I guess that was it, actually, of this incarnation of Mars Attacks. It was just like a little 5-issue story that they did. Yeah, 5 issues. And it was a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, it was funny. I mean, Chris Schweitzer, who's a friend of his, I guess, but they've never really collaborated before, was the perfect artist for this. His art is very cartoony and funny. And, the aliens do look ridiculous in Mars Attacks if you've ever seen the movie. So, like, the fact that Like, he was just the fact that he made them look goofy in this, although they're running around zapping people to death, their death rays in this. Like, it's a very real thing that is going on, and these aliens are invading the Earth and killing people. But while they're doing it, there was a bunch of funny moments that you saw with the aliens, just the way they reacted to the human race, and just like the way they look, because they look very goofy. It made it always fun to look at the art in this. So I had a lot of fun just looking at the art. It's very, very loose and cartoony, but like I said, it's a great fit for this book. And yeah, it was very funny. And it was a story about an old man and his son. His son basically went to go visit him in the old folks' home. It kind of is like that part in Mars Attacks, the movie, where it was essentially the same thing, like that kid that went to see, like, I think it was his grandmother or something in the old folks home, and then he basically had to try to get her out of there, and then they were basically on the road, and it turned out like they ended up helping the human race and the attack on Earth as a result, if you recall, in Mars Attacks. So it was similar to that, but this in the first couple of issues, the father keeps basically telling us, the readers, in a way, as he's telling off his son, how much of a disappointment he has been, and how, like, he had just came to visit him and he just lost another job, and he's having a hard time finding his way in life, and he can't basically figure it out and get it together. And his dad's like an ex-Marine from the war, and he's just in this old folks home now, which he hates. And as when he was there visiting him is when this attack on Earth started and began. So then, in a desperation to get him out of there, he has a walker, and he's very slow, and he can't actually book it out of there with his son. So he throws his dad in a wheelbarrow and rolls him out of the old folks' home as it's getting destroyed. And then the next few issues of the series just become the story about them on the road trying to basically survive as they make their way through this world of these aliens attacking them, and basically trying to find shelter and trying to find the U.S. Army, or trying to find some place to stay and survive as all this shit's going down, this destruction. And meanwhile, he's rolling around his father in a wheelbarrow, this disappointment of a son. And, as the story goes on, they get closer as a result of this. And, they have some special, nice bonding moments and actually resolution in terms of their relationship towards each other and what he thinks of his son. Even though he kind of always has gone on about how, he's a disappointment, but it's, it's still his son. So you get that father and son moment kind of in this story that has some levity to it. In between all the humorous moments that happen. So that's what I mean. So, like, it's something we've seen done before. It's not, very original in that sense, but I think it's just all done in a very well and a very nice package, along with the humor and along with the very funny comical art. At its core, it's still basically a Mars Attacks story. I mean, if you're a fan of the movie, I think this fits right into that world. I can't speak to other Mars Attacks comics, but I basically had picked this up because of the team and because of the things I've been hearing about this writer and this artist that have been doing kind of these funnier kind of comics over the last few years. So I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I definitely would suggest picking it up. I can't see this book flying off the shelves because it is a Mars Attacks comic. It's not a comic from the big two. It's not a property that some people may not be familiar with if they haven't seen the movie. But yeah, it's definitely worth your time, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. So yeah, check it out. And then last but not least, we got GoBots by Tom Scioli, written and drawn by him. In colors, basically everything is done by Tom Scioli, if I'm not mistaken. And this is through IDW Comics, who owns, I guess, the rights to GoBots as well as Transformers and G.I. Joe and all that kind of stuff. Tom Scioli previously did a G.I. Joe versus Transformers comic with IDW, a few years ago. So him doing GoBots, I guess the the loserish cousin of Transformers, as I've been here, I've heard it referenced to before. Basically, GoBots was done around the same time as Transformers, but obviously Transformers took off and GoBots was unsuccessful in comparison. And I don't really have any like attachment to these characters, nor do I know much about them at all, other than the fact that they're basically, like I said, the like Transformers but not Transformers, and just didn't take off, like in the sense like there was a cartoon and there was action figures, but obviously Transformers, look at the movies they have today, you're not seeing like a blockbuster film by Michael Bay with GoBots, right? So I think that speaks for itself in that sense. But you know, maybe because of the popularity of the Transformers comics, Tom Scioli did, they figured, hey, we have this property, we own the rights to do GoBots as well. Maybe, you know, you'd like to take a crack at that. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. This collected the first 5 issues, I guess, the only 5 issues of this series, I guess this mini series that had come out from IDW. And Tom Scioli basically was known for having like a Jack Kirby-like style. If you've ever read Godland through Image Comics by him, or American Barbarian by him that he wrote and draw as well and put out, his style is very much Jack Kirby in those projects. Like you can tell like he's obviously influenced by him, and he's kind of like the new age Jack Kirby in that sense. But then I guess in a way, maybe he didn't want to only be known for that kind of thing, so he started branching out and doing different styles. And the last couple of things that he put out, like this Transformers versus G.I. Joe and this GoBots book, it's a little bit different because the work looks, I mean, it still looks Kirby-ish, but also he's trying something out differently now, where he's kind of using like, it's almost like pencil crayons, like the colors and the actual art itself just looks like it was drawn in a certain way that kind of separates it from his older style, and also from a lot of the way that artists are working today. Like it's everything's kind of shaded with pencil crayon or colored in that way, and it looks very, very different. It still kind of has that old throwbacky style as a result, but it's very unique. So you kind of got to give it a chance and take a look for yourself at his style. I mean, I can't even really speak to all the techniques he uses, but it's very much unlike anything else being done today, and he definitely stands out in that sense. Yeah, he is a great creator. He's very creative. I think his writing is very unique too, because like even in this, sometimes like some of the dialogue that he has of characters, there's jokes that are played for jokes, but if you didn't read into them that way, they can go over your head very easily. Like sometimes the characters talk back or make kind of like statements that are kind of dickish or come off like ridiculously, but the way he delivers them, it's kind of like almost like he's sneaking one past IDW or the GoBots creators, because this is a licensed comic. So he's actually pretty good at straddling the line of, I'm going to kind of put myself into this and do some crazy shit in this comic, because with these licensed comics, you got to watch out in a way. Like your editors will kind of, I mean, obviously they gave him a lot of creative freedom, you can tell, but there's certain things that aren't going to fly. And sometimes, like, some of the things that are said by some of these characters in this book were very funny to read. And yeah, and basically, I mean, you don't need to have a history with GoBots, because I didn't. I only picked this up because I'm a fan of this man's work, but what I did enjoy about this was it's basically like a man versus machine type storyline. And, you know, we've all seen kind of that done before, and if you're into that, definitely check this out, because he is an indie creator doing something different than a lot of other creators out there today. So this is definitely going to look and feel like something different than what most of your big 2 superhero books are on the stands. And not only that, like I said, it was a lot of fun, and it was a story about man versus machine. Like the GoBots essentially in this start turning against their masters, some of them, even though some of them were programmed to kind of do that because they are machines. But, you know, it's that whole, you know, artificial life kind of thing coming to terms and making their own decisions for themselves, and how some of them don't want to go against the humans and some of them do as a result, and kind of see how that whole thing plays out. We've seen it done before in a lot of science fiction type stories, but it's done here and as well, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you are a fan of GoBots by chance, or even like Transformers, because like I said, they are somewhat similar, or if you're a fan of Tom Scioli or just fun, weird comics, and you want to try something different, this is definitely in that vein. So go check it out, GoBots by IDW Comics. All right, well, that's it for today, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And once again, check us out on the Late Night Chat Network, where we do another weekly comic podcast, Weekly Wine Comic Time, that I do with my girlfriend Christine, and that's where we actually review weekly comic single issues that come out every week. And there's always show notes that will kind of let you know what issues that we discuss. We try not to do too much spoilers on the new issues as they come out week to week, but if you are a Wednesday warrior who's in the comic shops picking up those weekly releases and you want to hear what we had to say about them, or somebody who is a trade waiter that kind of just wants to get an idea of whether or not this would be something you would be interested in picking up, definitely check us out. That's Weekly Wine Comic Time. Also on the Late Night Chat network of podcasts found on SoundCloud, as well as our flagship show, Late Night Chat with JT and Niko, that I do with my buddy, where it's basically just about anything and everything that we discuss on that show. All right, see you guys next time.